Alright, for the sake of principle, I must boldly go where no rational man will go, and basically pick a fight with the incredibly cute girl. You know, it is kind of funny how it's hard to get past these psychological things, these things built into our culture, our mentalities. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with just something incredibly cute. I mean, it's hard to do that. As an impulse, it's just, ugh. I mean, you can argue with the words, but it's hard to argue with the person. But anyway, I mean, if the person is, I mean, if I'm going to be fair, I mean, if the words were coming out of somebody else's mouth, I'd say, what are you, a fucking idiot? So, I got to be fair. So, yeah, I'll play the video. Most of the video is, mush. But there's some specific points made, and so I will try to argue those specific points that I think are socially dangerous, idiotic, foolish, silly, makes my brain want to puke kind of nonsense. So let's go to the videotape. This is depressing.
I think that no matter what the subject is, it should always be open for discussion, because once you stop growing, then, what's the point?
Well, that's a tricky point there. See, that's right there, we're already in trouble. Because everybody keeps saying that. Like, all these questions have to remain questions. We can never answer anything. We have to keep growing. Well, what if you grew? What if you growed up? And you finished growing, you figured out the answer, and you're saying, well, then there's no point anymore. All we live for is the questions. No, the answers can create a life for you, too. It's important to answer the damn questions, and the answers don't have to evolve and change and do all of that crap. They can be quite definitive. The world's round, the DNA molecule created us, blah blah. These are facts, okay? They're not fantasy. They're not going to change in 1,000 years. Those facts are going to be just as hard and real as they are today. So, I mean, this idea that life is about the adventure of seeking the truth, or just the seeking part, is just bullshit. Life is about the truth. Life is about reality and accurately describing it. So anyway, it's not about some endless pursuit of an answer. We have the goddamn facts. We can answer the important questions. Let's get to it. Quit playing games, blah blah blah.
A discussion like this, you need to start by defining what God is. And this is a tricky thing, because a lot of people see God as redundant.
Oh, well, come on. It's not that God is just redundant. As soon as you say the word God, like somehow we have an obligation to explain God, the explanation for God is, I don't have an answer, so I will make up one. That's God, all right? There's nothing. There's no physical evidence existing of anything intelligent in the design, construction, maintenance of life and the universe. There just isn't. There's nothing there. All we have is, the big mystery is, a photon acts differently when it encounters two slits. Okay, big deal. That's it. All right? There's no evidence of anything intelligent, rational, reasonable, controlling any aspect of our existence. So just even mentioning the word God as some sort of necessary component to our conversation about reality is already accepting some traditional fucktardedness. It's saying, the past has always been retarded, I will maintain the retardedness. I will throw the retardedness into my brain for absolutely no good reason. There used to be square wheels, so we must keep square wheels in the equation. There's no reason to keep square wheels in the equation. It's over. Square wheels are done, finished. We know why they existed, because of stupidity. Fuck them.
Because we know now that all of our thoughts and emotions kind of come down to neurotransmitters in the brain, and even religious experiences kind of come down to occurrences in the temporal lobe.
So why are you engaged? Why is your temporal lobe, why are your neurons engaging in this conversation? I mean, you know that if there's any delusion of God, it's exactly that, a delusion, an illusion, a piece of crap made up by a broken logic, not functioning logic. Logic says there's no God, all right? The facts say there's no God. So there's no reason to contrive justifications for indulging in the conversation.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Pantheism believes that, asserts that God is everything, right? Everything in the physical world and everything that might not be in the physical world, it's all God, right?
Yeah, and isn't that just a contrivance? I mean, to call the collective mass a thing, as if it was built by some structure that would create a thing. I mean, DNA controls the process. It is the God of biology, correct? I mean, it's the controller. There's no controller in any other of the physical dynamic, the mechanism. There's crude physical forces, period. There's not even a DNA molecule with an agenda to consume and reproduce. Okay, but that's the God of the biology, consumption and reproduction. That's the God, that's the controller. The universe itself doesn't have any controller. It's just a mass of shit and stuff that happened, okay? It happened, period. But there's no reason to think it's an organism, to think it's organized and that it's functioning, accomplishing, doing. It is not doing any of that. There is no cohesiveness in any piece of it. The fact that it acquires an arrangement is inevitable. It has no choice but to acquire an arrangement. And to call that arrangement deliberate, it's just, there's nothing. There's no reason to do that. There's no logic in doing that. It's insane-ish.
So pantheism basically asserts that God is everything. And so a lot of people say that God must be uncaused. So if God is everything, then God spans back into the infinity of our past and into the infinity of our future. And if God fits so completely within infinity, then God is uncaused. God does transcend matter and reality by being all matter and all reality.
Well, what is that, though? It doesn't mean anything. I mean, you can't uncause intelligence. You really can't do it. And you can't uncause sophistication. It has to be caused by a dynamic, a force. And then we can look at the end product. All right? The end product is not some refined, perfect diamond. It is rough, disgusting sloppiness. So it has no ethical judgment. Even the most simple ideas that can occur to our intelligence, that it is horrible for pain to be endured that has no purpose. I mean, come on, or even, well, there's a million examples. Unrequited love, all these imbecilic circumstances that are imposed on these feeling creatures. There's no intelligence would design and create that. The world is nowhere close to any kind of idyllic construction of perfection. So why use a word like God? God is a retard. Oh, well, that's necessary. We need to call it the retardedness God. I mean, you can give it a label, but it's just a word. It doesn't have anything to do with the reality. There is no perfection in this design.
Sort of maybe like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Something like that. So I think that's a really interesting idea. Correct.
Well, how is it interesting? I mean, how is the whole more than the sum of the parts? The parts are the conscious little beings doing the feeling, doing the desiring, doing the suffering. I mean, come on. The parts are the whole game. All right, the game isn't the relationship between the silly relationships, the soap opera between the players. The players are the game. Oh God.
Why not? I think that the concept of God really comes down to that God is a concept. In terms of our brain, we do...
It's not just a concept, it's an assertion. You're making an assertion. You're describing reality, and you're saying reality has something to do with this G-O-D word. That's your assertion. Okay, it's not just some concept. It's a concept you have to justify with some sort of logic. And as well, there's no even point going there, but I mean, There's no point in us existing if we're not going to exist in reality, because then our whole intelligence might as well be thrown in the fucking toilet. There's no point in having a brain if we're going to pervert our brain with nonsense, and we're not going to be interacting with the real world. If all we're going to react with is a bunch of concepts that are a pile of crap, then we've wasted intelligence.